So I was on a dating app last week and I had just matched with someone and I felt stymied, kind of stuck about what to say. She had messaged me, "Didn't we connect on another app?" And I realized, yeah, we had matched once before. So what's a clever thing to say? Uh, I don't know. I'm going to just ask ChatGPT. I immediately, after asking ChatGPT, got a range of fun banter responses. I was surprised how good they were. And I chose one. The universe must be double swiping on us. And she replied with three laughing, crying emojis to my excitement. And she said, "Why didn't we meet? You're so cute. I blame you." So in my head, I'm like, bingo. Thanks, ChatGPT. And when she sent her next text, I thought, hey, ChatGPT, what's a good response? So I realized this is yet another amazing thing ChatGPT can do, and I felt guilty about it. And then I used it again to give me flirty texts to send to other matches. So this got me wondering, is AI becoming a crutch for me? Maybe you already have your answer to that question. Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm your host, Ari Graff, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Faisal Kokar and Chuck Chapman. So I'm really interested in this question of what is AI doing to us? Is it something that's really helping humanity? Is it helping nice guys? Or is it hurting us? Is it making us dumb? Is it making us soft? So there's a really interesting study that came out recently. I think it's still in peer review, but it was in the New York Times. And this came out of MIT's Media Lab. The study is called "Your Brain on ChatGPT," and they split people up into three groups. One wrote essays using only their brain. They were all writing essays, but one just did it the old-fashioned way, using their brain. Another one could use Google, and another one could use ChatGPT. And here's what they found: the people who used AI, who used ChatGPT, had the weakest brain engagement. The brain-only group's minds lit up the most, which kind of makes sense. The people who uh, only got to use their brain, didn't get to use Google or ChatGPT, had to work the hardest. So the AI users, it's interesting, struggled to even remember what they wrote, and they felt the least ownership over their work. And the scary part, they carried that effect with them. So even when they were asked later to write without AI, their brains stayed underengaged. And MIT gave this a label called cognitive debt. So in plain English, when you let AI do the hard thinking for you, your brain starts to get soft. You lose some memory, some creativity, and ownership over your own voice. And this is just writing essays, but how does this apply to all manner of situations in daily life? So I want to ask the crew here: um, is AI screwing up nice guys? And does AI have a special appeal to nice guys? So there's two questions there. Faisal, what do you think?
Yes and no, and everything else in the middle. So I've been using AI for a while. My background was tech. I was a tech nerd expert in programming, working on systems for a long time. I am noticing one thing, that there are a lot of, say, guys using AI to uh, compensate for their lack of creativity and their ability. So what they're doing is they're just putting the onus on the AI. Oh, you know what, AI will save me. AI will give me the idea. Now, the challenge is,
Is
the
this
problem is
work situations you're seeing, or is this in their
both.
dating life? Yeah.
Yeah, so I work with predominantly single guys, and what I'm noticing is that they're using AI for a lot of interactions. And the problem isn't the tool. the problem is you being a tool, if you know what I mean. So the problem is that if you're lazy and you have a kind of tendency towards laziness, you'll just use every method you can to be lazy, and that will then give you the short-term gratification, but the long-term success of it will bite you in the ass, because when you do go on a date, she'll want to see you in real life, and then are you going to sit there with your chat GPT and then have a conversation? So what are you doing is you're
You run to the
missing out.
bathroom and you ask
All right, yeah.
ChatGPT what to
I'm
say
right
Yeah,
back.
she's
next,
gonna
and you
say,
come back.
yeah. She's like,
She's-
wow, this guy's got a really weak bladder. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's a problem. I work with guys, and one of the things that I really love to do is to really broaden their emotional intelligence and their creativity. Really expand this, because it's very logical and it's boring. And to women, it it doesn't emotionally touch them. So yeah, ChatGPT is
Meaning you're working with a lot of kind of engineer, programmer, nerdy types, logical
smart
types.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart guys, entrepreneurs, and they're very much on a system uh, way of thinking. And because it's systematic thinking, which is what my thinking was, it is the opposite of what seduction requires. It's great to titillate the logic part, but it doesn't titillate, it doesn't excite her body, her emotions. It doesn't get her fantasizing about you. It just gets her like, okay, that's pretty cool, that's pretty smart, that's nice. But it's like, well, so I call it, there's two types of guys when they're having a conversation. The bad boy is like the chocolate, real smooth, silky, delicious. The nice guy, lettuce, right? It's just material. It's there. And that's what the kind of conversation that she has. She's having a conversation with a very smart, intelligent, but not emotionally connected guy. It's like eating lettuce.
And so ChatGPT, it enables nice guys
Lettuce.
to speak in chocolate. Is that?
Maybe kind of like pseudo. It's more like they're showing up more chocolate, but actually ChatGPT is more chocolate than the nice guy. So the nice guy is becoming more lettuce.
And what do you find? Are you talking to guys who are using ChatGPT heavily and
Yeah.
running
I
into
tell them to get
problems?
off. Yeah, I tell them to get off. So I'll get them to do exercises. So for example, they've got text messages. I'd get the guys to say, okay, so you've got one reply. Let's write out 20 different replies. So they'll go through, and then you can see them. The first thing they'll do is they'll stumble, like, well, I don't know what to say. I'm like, okay, well, I really can't think what to say. I'm like, you have your creative side, but you don't exercise that muscle. Because most of the guys will say, well, I'm not creative. I'm not interesting. I don't know. I can't think on a whim. I'm like, you can if you exercise that muscle. And that requires a lot of creative work. So I teach guys to be more creative, exercise that creative part. And when they start flowing in that, you're witty, you're banter, you have all of that natural, flirty kind of conversations. You can be really sharp, really snappy, but it requires them to get out of that logical cage, that trap that they're in. So yeah, this can be taught. I've done this in myself. I've accessed a lot of creativity part of me. And I'm like, only this morning, I was, one of my clients was saying, well, I don't know what to respond to her on this. And I just gave him an answer. He goes, wow, that's really creative. How did you do that? I'm like, I'm just keep accessing that creative part of me. And I find myself kind of like leaning towards ChatGPT a bit too much. Then I'm like, no, let's get pen and paper out. So I'm forcing myself to write on pen and paper. I'm forcing myself, because when you're writing with pen, you're accessing a lot more neural pathways than you are with just keyboard or ChatGPT.
How about you, Chuck? Are you using ChatGPT or any AI tools for how to respond to your wife?
No, not how to respond to my wife. Because we don't text back and forth all that much. Yeah. Um,
Case closed.
no, but I use Chat GPT every day. I think that there's been several iterations of movements in technology. I think it started with the computer, and then in the 80s we got the personal computer, and then in the 90s we got the internet, and I think the next iteration is AI, right? And so these things that have kind of moved us forward, before personal computers came along, you didn't have access to a computer unless you were able to dial into a mainframe or something like that. And then all of a sudden everybody had computers, and it was like, oh, we can do a whole lot more. There's word processing, and instead of having to type on a typewriter and use whiteout, you can just do a backspace. So I think in a way, like AI is AI is to writing what a calculator is to math. It can help it go quicker, but just like a calculator, you can learn to rely on that rather than being able to figure it out, with pen and paper. And so I think there's always the argument of, are we losing something when we gain something like this? We're losing the thing. And in a way, it's a bit like a DOS system. You don't need to know how to write DOS. You don't need to write like BASIC anymore, right? You don't need that anymore. Is it good to learn it? Maybe, just to kind of understand it a little bit, but you're not going to be writing in that. And I think more and more, people are using it. It's more integrated with a lot of the softwares and things like that. At some point, it's going to be integrated with your texting. It's just going to be a thing of like respond with AI. It's already that way. Like with my email, I got email the other day, and it had written like a couple different responses for me. And it was like, oh, that's much easier. Boom. But I think the downside of it is there's also this suspicion now where, at least for me, it's like everything I look at, I'm like, is that AI? You know? And I was just reading something this morning on social media, and it was two people kind of going at it, and it was like obvious that they were using AI, because I think you also start to recognize there's words that AI uses repeatedly, and you can sort of, yeah, that was just a total AI response, right? And then I think people are going to call each other out. So I think you run the risk of doing something like flirting with an AI and saying something really clever, and then her going, "Oh, is he AI in me? Is this guy really as clever as all that, or is that just he's just using Chat GPT?" And
Or
I
it's
think
shitty
that,
when he turns up at the date, right? He's like,
right,
fuck.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She's like, well, you were so
yeah,
sophisticated and smooth. You were
yeah,
like chocolate, but now, baby,
yeah,
you
yeah,
can't even string two sentences together.
right. One of the things I do in my writing is I will write something first, and then I will put it into ChatGPT, and I will say, just edit this for grammar and spelling and consistency. And it'll make little suggestions here and there, but like the bulk of it is mine, but it just sort of like polishes it up a little bit. I think that's a little bit better way to do something. So I don't know if you took figure out what your response is, and then say to ChatGPT, like, make this a little smoother or something.
I do tell it to not change my tone.
Yeah.
And one of the things I hate about chat AI at the moment, and I always warn guys about this, most of AI is trained in the feminine narrative, the feminine world. Most of data you collect. So a lot of women will express on forums, messages, uh, they voice a lot of their complaints on social media. So the AI then learns the feminine kind of response. So when guys are responding, sometimes I catch them because I get the guys to say, "Hey, send me screenshots of your messages so we can analyze them for codependency, anxiety, people pleasing kind of behaviors." And I love analyzing text messages because I go through that. I just made a video actually about a profile I analyzed, and it helped guys to really understand something because they're quite naive. A lot of nice guys are extremely naive and they only see what they want to see. So when we were going through some of the messages, they were not realizing, or they were like missing some crucial points that AI was covering, but they weren't cognitively aware of, which is a real
What
danger.
were they?
And well, some of the narratives that AI has is very feminine. So the responses were more what the feminine would respond rather than the masculine. So the guys would be, it shows more empathy, understanding, but when they're in the real world, those guys don't have that empathy, understanding. So the AI had the empathy and understanding, but when they're in the real world, he's not completely registered that. And it's just like, I've been missold here. And I hear a lot of women say that as well. I've been conned into the date because his communication was really good. But in real life, the guy was completely different to how he communicated. So I had a message actually yesterday from a friend of mine, and she got really mad at somebody who gave her just an AI message. She said, I can pick that up as an AI message. And she goes, that's so disingenuous. She's like, why doesn't he, why does he just want to communicate from himself? She wants to connect to your rough edges. But the guys are so scared to show their rough edges, to make a mistake, get it wrong, get rejected. Fuck. That's not the training you want to do.
Yeah, that's such a good point that people actually want some authenticity. They want some weirdness. They want some uniqueness. They don't want perfection. And the ChatGPT, it trains us to want to give perfect responses, which is one of the nice guy, I think nice guy core issues is we want to be perfect, and we want to do things for people to get back something that's going to meet our needs. And so this kind of feeds into that nice guy perfectionism. So yeah, I think we're living in a time where you could potentially avoid a lot of mistakes and tension. And I don't think that will serve you well ultimately in a relationship when you're actually dealing with someone in real life, and there's going to be tension, and you're not going to be able to ask ChatGPT when you're face to face with the person.
Maybe you have those
what to say.
meta glasses that, Mark Zuckerberg, which failed at in his demonstration. But, I'm sure you'll have those glasses that will, there are some really high tech glasses that, can speak into your ear as well. So I can imagine that the guys will be, these tech guys will use anything just to fail, look bad.
So is the point I'm making something that's going to be moot in 5 years, that we're going to have AI pumped into our brain? And
Well, yeah, that's going to happen. Totally. But here's one thing I really want to mention is this temporary kind of work that you're doing using AI. It's only lowering your self-esteem, your self-worth. That's all it's doing. It's that the AI is the pseudo kind of so you're getting self-esteem through proxy, as in you're getting self-esteem through AI, and you're looking good, you're looking cool, you're sounding all of this really cool person through the AI, but not through you. So therefore, when you're actually on the date, and here's what I think I see all the time, is that she might say something and it throws you off. And what it does, this is the most damaging thing. It sends you into a shame spiral. And that's something that AI hasn't worked on with you. It's very difficult for AI to train you and help you on that. Maybe in the future it can. But that's what coaching helps you with, therapy helps you with. It's being able to have that real life reaction that a human shows. So I might show disgust, or I might show like disapproval, and then you go into a shame spiral because the AI is not going to do that. AI is trained to be compliant. That's the difference. It's trained not to trigger your shame unless you ask it. So by default, it's going to be very people pleasing, very passive in that way.
Yeah, AI is sycophantic. It always wants to please you. You know, it's always saying, "Great idea." Like you're thinking like a pro now.
There was a thing on what was it, South Park, and she put in like something like, I'm thinking about opening a restaurant that's salad and something else that didn't go with salad, and AI was like, oh, that's wonderful, that's a great idea. And so I did the same prompt in AI just to see what would happen, and it gave me like, that's an amazing idea, like you're taking these two things and you're putting them together. So I think you're absolutely right, Ari, that it's programmed to basically like it's programmed to do sort of a Rogerian kind of thing of like the it's the positive feedback, it's the what we call it, unconditional positive regard that it throws back. I think another thing that's happening though is like from a neurobiological standpoint, we'll just take your scenario here where you get you get a message from somebody, and all of a sudden your stress response goes up and goes, oh, I don't know what to say. I want to make sure it's something clever. I want to do, this. And so then you're getting those stress hormones. And then you go, oh, ChatGPT, right? And then ChatGPT relieves those stress hormones and gives you dopamine in its place because, oh, these are brilliant ideas. Okay. So then I go do that. And then I get the response back from her, like, oh, laugh, crying face kind of thing. And then it's like another dopamine spike, So I think that there's this intermittent reward system going on with ChatGPT as well, that then you get to the actual date and you have the stress response of what am I supposed to say here, but you don't have the ability to access the dopamine. And that's where I think you fall into like what Faisal was talking about, the shame spiral then, is those stress hormones coming up and taking you down. And then it's like you start thinking negatively and beating yourself up and like, why can't I think of anything clever to say? And then you just kind of like, screw it, So I think,
Can you imagine if you took AI to the bedroom? All right, help me say something dirty. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's
Your
certainly
kitchen sink is disgusting. No, not that kind of dirt. Right?
Yeah. Now I think there's a flip side of this, because I just, my mom was over last night and she was talking about this, and she said she had a friend of hers who, her and her daughter have never been able to have a conversation that didn't turn into an argument. And her daughter had sent her an email, and she used ChatGPT to respond, and it was able to kind of respond in a way that was more positive and affirming. So it didn't escalate their typical conversations that they would have happen. So I think there's a plus side of that too, where you can take this technology, and imagine what I was thinking about this the other day. If my wife and I got into an argument, I said, hey, you know what? Let's ask ChatGPT. Say, my wife thinks that this and I think this, which one of us is right? And I would probably say we're both right. But but I think it also has the potential to help people see past like their own, limited abilities, and have start to develop more of an emotional intelligence. I think that's the flip side of it. But it's like anything else, you can use it for good or you can use it for bad.
So I started, I love the point you can use for good or bad. And the flip side of it, that was really well put. Here's one thing I told my son to do was, I was like, he's 13. And I was like, I really want you to start really going into critical thinking. And I said, use ChatGPT. I said, share a concept or an idea with ChatGPT and ask it to be your critical thinking coach. So really let it ask you to challenge that. And then I said, share an opinion, share something that even you are against. I want you to be on that side and then have a conversation with with ChatGPT. So, for example, maybe in politics or something, you support one side. And I said to him, right, I want you to be on the opposing side because I don't want you to have split, fractured kind of thinking. I want you to be able to see both sides. And I want you to argue that with ChatGPT. I want you to really start enhancing, expanding the way you think. One of my clients, I have a client who's a super genius. I mean, this guy is super smart. He's like AI himself. And his ability to critical think in the moment when you're having a conversation with him, when we're doing a coaching session. So I meet this guy in person. He's helped create $1 billion company, gamings he's done. But the way he thinks, I'm like, this is so powerful. And he's just had a kid. And he said, the one thing I would teach my kids is things that are timeless. He said, whether you have AI or not, he said the AI is not a real advantage because if everybody has it, it doesn't have an advantage. It's just the person, can they use that tool or not? So the one who's going to be competent in using a tool, which is available to everybody, that gives them an advantage because the real advantage is the AI you can't access, the AI that's specialist, because that would be an advantage. So he said that I would teach my children the things that will serve them, which would be critical thinking, philosophy, history, mathematics, English, because I want them to really grow that part of them, because that will then help them grow their self-worth, self-esteem. Because if you're just giving AI to do this job for you, the most dangerous thing that you're doing, the most hurtful thing that you can do is erode your self-worth and your self-esteem. And then you have kids, and the children are going to ask you a lot of questions. What are you going to do? Going to get AI to answer it for them? So you want to model a capacity where you have that critical thinking, have that conversation. I do like the model of where the daughter and the mother, where they can constantly responding. That's only beneficial if she learns from it.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, okay, I can take that, I can learn from this, and I can adapt it, change it for future. If she's just using it like she just does it, then it's not really a benefit then.
No, and I think in this instance, she was saying that it was kind of like, oh, I had never thought of it like that. That's a good response, you know? So I think there's the advantage of like, you do learn from it. Like, oh, this is actually a good response. But also can, help. I think I can help communicate.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's really powerful because I've used ChatGPT to have critical dialogues.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some YouTube videos as well where you see two people having a critical conversation about something, like critical thinking on that one. And it's really useful on that. Hey, I'm seeing this, but help me see something that I'm not seeing, something, challenge me. So when you ask it questions like that, you prompt it in that way, then it becomes really powerful. Because the more you can expand your own thinking and not piggyback on ChatGPT, the more you'll be chocolate with the ladies.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying that
oh, you're not ChatGPT, and I agree with you. It's that ChatGPT programming there.
I love what you just said.
Oh my God.
Now you're thinking like a pro.
Now you're thinking like,
can you see how that
good dialogue between two people.
Well done, you. Can you see how this is the feminine template? Can you see how women have been saying, oh my God, you're big, you're beautiful. Oh my God, you're beautiful as you are. And that's the narrative that ChatGPT has been on. I've had to tell ChatGPT, don't make a judgment here, right? Because I was putting in a very masculine tone. And it says, you're right, I did make a judgment. I'm like, this is masculine work.
It's always going to agree with you.
Yeah, but
she's not going to go, I disagree. That was a total masculine.
Yeah. So you have to be very careful of the narrative, the language that it's been trained on.
What I was going to say is you can use AI as a learning tool, to develop new ways of thinking. Even like, with the flirting on the dating app, it was like, oh, those are some good responses. It kind of like got my brain working, like, right. Thinking about kind of more subtle types of humor. So I think you can use it for inspiration. You can use it for ideas, for learning a new skill. So there's all kinds of great uses for AI. It's just when you farm out an entire task or an entire way of thinking to it, I think that's where you're limiting yourself. Um, and it doesn't um, it doesn't necessarily give us that kind of masculine challenge that we need, because it's is always kind of giving us the perfect response, and we're gonna face challenge in our everyday life. Um, so I think that's where it could be a real trap for nice guys. Um,
As you saying
so
that, um, one thing that it just came to me was, do you see that guys who use ChatGPT a lot are quite high in the codependent kind of like have traits because they're quite dependent on everybody else to sort their life out? Are they being dependent or hyper dependent on, I'll just get ChatGPT to look after this? Is that your experience? Have you noticed that?
I don't know if I've noticed it like per se, but I think because it is the the dopamine and the hit that you get from feeling right or feeling like, oh yeah, okay, that's a great response. I think it can become more of an addiction because your brain knows that if I go to ChatGPT, it's going to give me the response I want, and that's going to give me the hit that I want. So I think it's more addictive, and if you want to say things that are addictive create dependence, then yeah, I would imagine that would start to happen. I mean, I'm already, half the time I think of something, then I'm like, oh, I wonder what ChatGPT would say. Yeah. But I have to be fair. Also, I use it for a lot of research. I use it for a lot of my own thinking. So I think it's like this balance of you can't lose like the basic skills. Um, I don't know. I mean, 30 years ago, everybody knew how to drive a manual, at least in America. I know in the UK it's different because your cars are all manual over there.
Yeah, what is
But
that automatic stuff?
I know, yeah. But now it's like kids today have no idea how to drive anything that's not automatic, Well, in another 25 years, we're not even going to need to know how to drive. So at some point, what we thought was critical is no longer critical. So I don't know if we'll just adapt as a species around this, but
are
it'll
we
be
just
interesting to
crotchety
watch.
old men
We're just
complaining?
crotchety old men are like, you gotta go back to the
In
way
my
we did it.
days,
We
we had a
walked through.
stick in our car and we had to push our car ourselves.
It was
Not
a
like
stick.
starter motors that you have. What is all of that stuff?
It was a stick, and it had branches growing off of it.
Yeah. Windscreen, we had to suffer the cold air, right? So what do you think the future of relationships is going to be like with this advent of AI? And the other day I was reading, somebody was telling me that this woman divorced her AI partner. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, I don't know if it
Was
was
that
just some,
was that in the United States, or was that in Japan? Or
I saw one where
I
a
don't
guy
know.
married his AI.
Yeah, there's all these things coming up, and this woman
Yeah.
divorced the AI. Probably a nice guy, AI ChatGPT, always agreeing with her, never telling
Oh
her
yeah.
no. That's probably what it is, typical.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the
Oh, you
addictive
look
part of
beautiful
it. It's like,
today.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it's just like we're getting all of this, dopamine and oxytocin, and it's like, yeah, we start to bond with an imaginary thing. It's easy to
So
do, isn't
emotionally
it?
intelligent, yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it understands me. It gets my feelings. It praises me. It doesn't put me down, and
Hmm.
always tells me how beautiful I look. So, what do you reckon, guys? Because I saw this. So I follow AI Instagram's information, and there was this company that's making real skin. I think it's got silicone or
Mhm.
something like that, but they're making actual
Organic kind
real
of,
skin
yeah.
on robots. Yeah. So
Yeah.
in 5 years, 3, 4 years time, we're going to have human looking kind of like feeling kind of
Mm.
machines. And I think a lot of men are going to gravitate towards AI
It's
relationships.
easier. Yeah. You know, she always gives you what you want. But I think on the flip side of that, if somebody's always giving you what you want, pretty soon it becomes boring. So in the beginning, because it's new and you're getting the oxytocin and it feels really good, but once you do something multiple times, the oxytocin flow starts to diminish. So I think eventually they'll just get bored with it.
They have a solution for that.
There'll be a reversion back to, I need to find a
A real
complaining
woman.
woman.
No, there
Complaining
will be a
real-
solution to that. Here's the solution. So what will happen is you've got this software which will randomly play the wife role. Right, randomly just comes on, and you're just having a conversation with AI, then randomly it switches. It's like, why do you leave the socks on the floor? Why are we doing the dishes? Right, it'll just go into that mode, right?
Yeah.
And the guy will be like stunned, and it'll just go back to the
I'll be
comfort
taking
mode.
it
So
back
I
to the
reckon,
store going, this thing
yeah,
isn't.
yeah. So I reckon there will be the
There'll be an
complaining
AI
wife,
man
but
and an AI woman, and humans will fall in love with their AI version because it'll be perfect and problem free, which is what every nice guy wants.
yeah. But I think it's going to happen. It's inevitable. I think a lot of people are saying, no, Faisal, it's not. I'm like looking at the
Oh,
trajectory of technology and how dependent,
it's
hyper
already
dependent we are on.
happening.
Yeah. I mean, like your mobile phone. How many
Yeah.
times do you ever leave? Okay. Do you guys ever leave the house without your phone?
Almost
No, but
never.
if I do, I can feel it.
Yeah. So yesterday, I don't know what happened, but I went to the coffee shop, forgot my phone. I was like,
Yeah.
so they know me at the coffee shop. I was like, I've got no money. I've got nothing. I've got no wallet. She's like, that's fine. You can have coffees on us. And I sat there just with my laptop, and I was like, I feel so free.
Oh,
I felt free. And then I went for a walk. I normally go for a walk without my phone because I'm practicing that separation. I ended up going to the gym, no phone. I ended up like, I'm really enjoying this freedom. I'm like, why don't we do this more often? Or why don't I do this more often? It's just be phone free. So now I'm practicing things like I'm going to go shopping. I'm just going to take my card, payment card, and then just go. And I can see my anxiety is like just touching my clothes. Like, I can't feel a phone. I can't feel it. It's like an
You have
organ
like a
now, isn't it?
withdrawal symptoms.
it is.
Yeah, separation anxiety. It's the same
Yeah.
thing as child and mother have or parent have, is that separation anxiety.
Yeah, because your phone is your source of dopamine.
It's a source of comfort and soothing. And ChatGPT is doing that for a lot of guys, soothing and comfort. It's like, oh, it'll give me the best idea. I like that part you mentioned about dopamine. I hadn't really thought about it, but yeah, you're right. I get a really good answer and it looks cool. So that's
It's
the
like,
dopamine.
woo, I feel good. Right?
Yeah.
You
So
get that bump.
yeah. Yeah, it's that bump. It's that temporary self-esteem that you get.
So I think AI can help us, can actually help us take on bigger challenges. So I guess I do want to emphasize that, like um, doing things like running ads, which was something that I had never done before this year. You know, to create whole new ads and whole new copy, like that's an entirely new skill set. So that was something that AI really helped me with, but that was to elevate into an aspect of entrepreneurship that was totally unfamiliar to me. So I do think there's ways that AI we can use it to really push ourselves.
So can you
And
do copy and ads without AI now? Like better than you could before? Have you learned? Has it closed
well,
that gap?
no, but I understand things about how ads work, and that's not entirely just from using AI. That's also from coaching around ads. But I'm saying it's expanded me into like an entirely new field, um, where I might have just paid someone maybe to do advertising for me, and this has enabled me to actually learn about this whole craft. Now, I'm not saying that I can do it as well as someone who's has a degree in it or who's trained, but I'm saying like this can really allow people to you know create a new business, for example.
Yeah. I heard it put like this, where was like, I thought AI was going to do things that, like I didn't want to do, like fold my laundry and do the dishes and cook my meals and that kind of thing. But instead, so that I would be freed up so that I could write and so I could create and so I could be, you know, practice my arts. But instead, what it did is it's taken over all of the creative stuff, which leaves me more time to do the dishes and do the laundry and do the stuff that I don't
I
actually
love
want
that.
to do.
It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's doing all the stuff that I wanted to do, and
Yeah.
make it.
So like, make it wash my clothes, make it.
You've become a slave to it. That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm fearful, not fearful, maybe that's the wrong word, but I'm concerned about how much AI will take over jobs. And I've been listening to some experts on this and the displacement.
Already has.
Yeah, and the displacement they have. And then I think it will obviously impact business because you have less people working. And when you have less people working, because some of our experts are saying, oh, it's going to give you a lot of creative power and you can set up a lot of businesses. Okay, yes, you can. But then you're not going to have a lot of buyers because they're out of job. So
But
who's going to be spending
technology
that
has
money?
always replaced jobs.
It has, but this is a revolution. This is like,
yeah, but even
AI is a revolution.
Yeah, but so was the internet, so was personal computers, so was computers, so was the car. These were all things that were revolutionized things, and they did replace things. But
Right.
then
There used to be tons of jobs for people who cleaned up horse poop in cities, and those jobs are all gone.
They're gone because of the car. Yeah. So I think it is one of those things. Yeah, it's going to replace jobs, but it's going to create jobs too. So rather than, and we'll see where it goes, but rather than like it taking away like computer programmers, it's going to, people are going to have to know how to run specific kind of prompts. So instead of knowing how to write, you're going to have to know how to run an algorithm. So I think it will replace jobs, but I think it's also going to create new possibilities for people too.
But very few though, because for once we have a machine that it can fix itself, program itself, like the future of like super AI, AGI, all of those things that are coming in. Those things have never happened in history, where you have a machine that not only can it start to manage itself, but also manage other machines. So
I'm just saying it's the same argument that you would have heard back in the 70s. People would have been saying, oh, this computer thing, it's a game changer. It's going to replace jobs. And it did, right? There's no more data entry jobs anymore. That was a big one. And you used to get paid. Like I remember data entry jobs, would be really high paying jobs. They don't exist anymore. So there are jobs that don't exist. And again, I think we're just going to have to see where it goes. Like it'll be interesting to watch.
Yeah, the guy who was behind the AI, he's saying that the future isn't great. I mean, these guys created the AI. There's a really good podcast on this, and he's saying because this is a revolution, this is not like a new technology. This is actually a full change. That the future is not gonna be what we think it was. Like when the car came out, yeah, we can see that things like assisted us, but this is not assisting. It's just starting to look like assisting at the beginning, but this is replacement. This is displacement, which is very different from what we've had in the past. So let's see. Maybe ask AI where is this taking us?
She'll say, "Don't worry,
Great
I'm here to
idea.
support you.
Yeah.
Great idea. Let's do that together. We'll take over
All
the
right.
world.
So let's it's very easy with the AI topic to think about worst case scenarios or utopian scenarios. My son has been worrying about AI lately. And I don't always know what to tell him other than, we'll figure this out together. Um,
Just learn farming, right?
just
Just
learn
go back.
farming.
I think it was UAE's leader. He was saying that my grandfather, my great great grandfather or something, he used rode on a horse, and then a camel and a horse, and then a bike, then a car, and then he says, my son is car. He goes, my great grandson will go back and revert back to riding a horse and camel again, because that's how he foresees the world going back to where we were, back to basics. Who knows? Back to farming, minimum land.
Back to
So
there'll be a whole bunch of jobs for picking up horse poop.
There you go.
Problem solved.
No, China's going to have robots doing that. They already got robots making roads. Unbelievable.
it's very easy to get lost in your imagination when we're talking about AI. So what do you think are the take homes for right now in late 2025 for people hearing this, for nice guys listening to this show?
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of different opinions out there about it, but I kind of look at it like there's always seasons in life, right? And there's everything is sort of goes in cycles, and this is just where we're at in a particular cycle in the world and in history. And I think it's one of those things of, let's say, gunpowder, something like that. It's like, okay, yes, this is dangerous and we need to be able to learn how to use it, but it's already there. There was no putting the genie back in the bottle on this one. I think where the problem lies is you're going to have probably nefarious political institutions and things like that will create situations that can be really, really scary, and then you have smart people on the other side that are going to be trying to counteract it. So I don't know. I think that anxiety comes from predicting the future, and right here, right now, in this moment, this is the only thing that I can only do anything about in this particular moment. So I try to just ground myself in that.
Yeah, it's good words there. What I say to the guys is, like Chuck said, don't over worry about it, but also don't bury your head under the sand about this as well, because the trajectory and the future of AI is here, and it's going to make a much bigger impact when it comes to dating and relationships and intimacy and attraction. Learn from the AI for sure, but don't give all your power to AI. So a lot of nice guys, what they do is relinquish power. They give it away. So when you are going to go on a date, when you do have to articulate, communicate, she wants to be able to know the man that is actually behind the text messages. So you want to use AI to advance you, not to take over your ability and capacity to be creative. So use AI in a more intelligent way rather than let it take over and be chocolate.
Be chocolate. Be chocolate.
Be chocolate.
Pick up the horse poop.
Yeah, if anything, I'm leaving this conversation feeling like this is very complicated times we live in. And, we're potentially looking at a lot of upheaval in the future, job loss and, people having relationships or marriages with AI, with robots. Like, I don't think this sounds like we're moving in a smooth and easy direction when we really look at the full picture. There's AI gives us ways to smooth things out in life, but I think we're dealing with a lot of change. So that's the kind of challenge where you need to build up your masculine energy, your ability to tolerate tension and stress and conflict. So the things that we're always talking about that nice guys need to develop are still relevant. AI isn't getting rid of that. So thanks a lot for listening to this episode of the Nice Guy Show. If you're watching this on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe, as this helps us reach more men who need support. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to subscribe there as well. Go to niceguyshow.com to get on the mailing list. And if you like this podcast, check out number 64. Is nice guy syndrome curable? We haven't cured it yet. We're about 60 episodes later.
AI will cure it.
AI says, of course you can cure it, Ari. You and me together.
All right. Thanks for making this a great show. We'll see you next time.